When you need to come up with a solution to a new market situation, a new business environment situation that you're facing, it's very hard to come up with new ideas when you got the same people in the room, the same assumptions, the same physical surroundings, everything's the same. Hard to come up with new ideas. So you need to figure out how to mix it up a little bit. And one of the things that I've found that's fairly effective is simply playing a game, just gamifying your brainstorming process. It's nice to impart a physical part of that, like, move to the left side of the room if you think this will work, the right side if it not. Now that you're on the right, figure out a new way that it can work. Things like that. Simple things could be very effective. A second thing that's very effective is just changing the assumptions. For instance, one company that I was working with had constrained manufacturing capacity. They were always bumping up against the 100% utilization mark, and that was always a reason why they couldn't, for instance, surge capacity to meet peak demand during the holiday times. They kept increasing it, but it was never enough, etc. And we just said, well, what if that was no constraint whatsoever? What if you had no constraint on that? What would you do? And the team was able to come up with some really interesting solutions to that. Once they came up with the solutions, it was a lot easier to imagine how could we do that. Now that we have a vision in place for what we could do if that assumption was if that constraint was lifted, it's much easier to come up with how you can solve the problem in the long run. Another thing is to just say, if the reason we're not coming up with a certain set of ideas is because of the risks involved, competitor retaliation, customer not accepting, environmental or regulatory situation, how can we de-risk those specific problems? And if you put enough thought and enough money to it, you can address any risk really, really well. An example I like to use is Elon Musk coming up with the electric car when everybody had cars that could only go less than 50 miles, and they had this great big battery in the trunk where you couldn't put a lot of stuff in the back of the trunk, and people had range anxiety. They were afraid they were going to get stranded. All of these were impediments to why people were not adopting the electric vehicles very fast. And so Tesla and Elon Musk just said, I'm going to take each of those risks and I'm going to address them each very specifically. They said, so people are worried about range anxiety, so we're going to put in superchargers on all the major corridors, and we're going to make sure this car can go 300 miles or more, the same as a tank of gas. People were worried about resale value, so he said, I'll buy that car back from you at a price pegged to the price of a similar luxury Mercedes. People were worried about safety, so he won all the safety awards. Each of these risks he just addressed head on. By thinking in that way, you often can go places you never thought that you would be able to go.